It's not just the teaching, it's how the teaching is done. What I've learned is that what students want is really vigorous teaching. This is my personal opinion. In fact, I quit my last karate school because the teacher would give you 5 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest, and 5 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest. The previous teacher would work you the whole 90 minutes. And I loved it, and they couldn't keep people out of that place. I mean, people were bringing their friends. Right. As soon as they sort of slowed down and went slow and took it easy and gave rest breaks and everything else, people just started quitting.
This is The Truth About the Martial Arts Business, Episode 4. I'm your host, John Graydon. Our guest today is one of my mentors and the mentor to thousands, probably hundreds of thousands, Mr. Brian Tracy. Brian is not only one of the world's leading motivational speakers, he's also a black belt and a contributing author to the MATA Instructor Certification program at matacertification.com. After the interview, our Teach Like a Pro tip of the week is on using concise language in the classroom. Be sure to subscribe, share with your friends, and post a positive review. You can also submit a comment, request, or suggestion by clicking the Ask Mr. Graydon Anything button in the show notes below. Thanks for listening, and here's Brian Tracy.
When it comes to developing success within your life and within your school, you can shave years of stress, accelerate your income by finding out how other people have accomplished what you're trying to do. One of the people that I have studied through the years, a mentor of mine, has been Brian Tracy. Brian is one of the best-selling, prolific authors in the world, and he has helped tens of thousands of people truly increase the quality of their life through his programs. Brian, thanks so much for joining us. I want to chat a little bit today about the dreaded sales word. Peter Drucker, I think it was Peter Drucker, said that most small business owners are not really entrepreneurs. They're guys that have a certain skill that have spasms of entrepreneurship. So a guy opens a mechanic shop and thinks that just because he's a mechanic, that's going to draw people in. A guy opens a karate school and thinks, well, I've got a great sidekick, I got a trophy in the window, this should cover everything. But that really is just the starting point, isn't it?
Right. What happens in small businesses, people do not start a business. What they do is create a job. And they just create a job for themselves. And the selling is something that they do often grudgingly as a side effort in order to keep busy so they can keep doing their job. The most successful entrepreneurs, however, are people who are very aggressive salespeople. They realize that their business is selling. In fact, even if doesn't matter what style you have, you are in the business of sales and marketing. You are a sales and marketing business.
Doesn't matter what your Okinawan style is, your Korean style, it makes no.
You're in sales and marketing.
You're running a business.
The product, you could be in donuts and you could be in martial arts. You are still in the sales and marketing business. And the most successful people are the ones who understand this concept. And instead of selling being like a planet that goes around the sun of teaching, selling is the sun and everything else we do are the planets. If you change your paradigm, so you say that I am a business development specialist, that's what I do. And I have worked with every conceivable type of company and industry, including martial arts, and the most successful and happiest people, the ones who have the greatest control over their destiny, are the ones who are tremendous at selling.
You said aggressive selling. Now, we're not talking about and I hate to use a stereotype, the used car salesman, close, close, close. No. Define aggressive. What do you mean by that?
It means it is a continuous, outgoing, ongoing effort of selling.
A point of focus. It's
not a passive. Your passive selling is you wait till someone comes in and then you do everything possible to convince them that they should become a student or that they should re-register and so on. That's passive selling. That's like standing behind the counter at McDonald's. Sometimes I say, if you worked behind the counter at McDonald's and you were the finest, nicest, most wonderful counter person that ever lived, how much would McDonald's have to pay you to sell to people who came to the other side of the counter? And the answer is minimum wage. And why is that? It's because the sale is guaranteed. You see, wherever there's no effort in making the sale, or wherever you're a passive recipient of orders, all they have to pay you is minimum wage to take the orders. Wherever you actually go out and create business, that's where you can make a fabulous living.
In the martial arts industry, we think about selling as, well, somebody comes into school, I have to sell them on joining, I have to sell them on the intro course, I have to sell them on the program. Later, I have to sell them on the renewal in order to upgrade their programs, and it's all money in sales. A lot of people have very negative associations with money, but in reality, you're selling all the time. You're selling your students on the value of the sidekick and why they should practice it.
Right.
You're selling people on why they should wear the uniform that you asked them to wear, why they should, I mean, it's an ongoing process. For instance, you described to me earlier how you took over a martial arts class when you were involved, and they had been sold a different bag of goods. Expand on that just a little bit.
Well, sometimes I ask my audiences, how many people here are in sales? And it's a shock, and about 10–20% of people raise their hands. I say, really, how many people here are really in sales? And they're not sure what I mean. I say, well, how many people here communicate with others on a regular basis? How many people here try to influence others? How many people here try to persuade others? How many people here negotiate with others? Well, they all raise their hands. Well, that's what selling is. It's communicating, influencing, persuading, and negotiating. Now, you can either be good at it or poor at it, but you're all in it. From the time you're an infant and you negotiate to get your diapers changed, to the time you're an adult and you negotiate to change lanes in traffic, you are in the process of influencing other people. You can either influence others or be influenced. You can either be persuasive or just simply be persuaded. You can either communicate with others or simply be passive. But the fact of the matter is, you're in the game. It's like a person in a championship, and they say, begin. The game is on. You're in it. You can't say, well, I don't know if I want to be here or not. That option is no longer on the table. So if everybody is in sales, then the only question is whether or not they're any good at it. And what we have found, John, it's so important, because I've worked with thousands of people who have just hated sales, been terrified of sales, been poor at sales, and their number one reason was that they didn't know anything about sales.
Of course.
And it's the most amazing thing. And as soon as they began to learn about selling, the same experience you've had, they realized, hey, I can do this. This is a series of practices.
Absolutely.
Just like, I say, can anybody learn the complexities of selling? Well, people say, I don't know. Does anybody here know how to drive? Well, how many things do you have to learn to be able to drive a car? And yet every single person here could get in their car and drive from one end of the country to the other and not even think about it, because you've done it so often it's automatic. It's the same thing with selling. What you do is, no matter how big a field it is you resolve that my ability to sell, to communicate, influence, negotiate, and persuade is the key to the success of my business and my life and my family and my kids and all my hopes for the future. So therefore, this is not something I'm going to be casual about. I'm going to be very, very serious about it, and I'm going to learn how to do it well. And when you start to learn how to do it well, you say, this is great. Now, with regard to selling, I'll give you a very simple principle. Someone comes into the school. One of the places where you sell is in the teaching of the class. That is like the meal on the plate in the restaurant. Now, it doesn't matter how good the advertising is or the decor or anything else. In the final analysis, it's how the student feels in the class. Do they feel happy? Do they feel enthusiastic? Do they feel energized? Do they feel that I really like this? I can hardly wait to get back here.
And I'm learning something.
And I'm learning something, because that's all part of it. You see, happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It means that a person feels that they're growing and accomplishing something. How do they get that feeling? Very simple. That the teacher is constantly giving them feedback, telling them that they're improving. And they're getting this feeling of forward motion, and they want more of it. People become addicted to growth. It's called a positive addiction. I want more of this feeling of growth and becoming better. That's what causes people to sign up and to re-sign up and to bring their friends.
Well, then I never thought about it this way, but we've spent a lot of time recently talking on how to rework your curriculum. Maybe I was taught in a very strict school that had me do the most classical, traditional moves in the beginning, which are not a lot of fun. They're hard to do. They don't give you a sense of competence. And what we're doing, we're not replacing those moves, we're pushing them back a little bit. So in the beginning now, we have the students doing techniques that are a little easier to learn. It develops a little more enthusiasm, a lot more, and we're seeing our retention go up. So, and you're saying that your curriculum design and how you run that classroom is in many ways the core of your sales process. And many of our guys have been doing it all along without even knowing it. Now we have to take that concept into, how do I answer the telephone? What do I do when somebody's sitting across and mom says, I have to go home and talk to my husband? We have to go into the details of that. So if I'm a school owner, I'm getting very enthused about learning, what are the first steps that I should take to become better at selling?
Well, the critical thing in selling is to find out and clearly identify what it is the other person wants, what it is they need, what are their motivations, what are their desires. You see, remember that martial arts training is merely a vehicle. It's like a bus you take from where you are to where you want to go. So, where is it that people want to go with their children? All right? What qualities do they want their children to have? And if you can ask them, and instead of telling them, ask them what qualities do they want their children to have? They'll say, well, I want my children to be confident. I want them to have high self-esteem. I want them to have high levels of energy. I want them to be disciplined and focused and controlled. Would these be helpful? If your child learns these things in one area, would they be helpful with their schoolwork, their family, at home, and everything else? Because remember this, it's like the ripples in a pond. If a person becomes good at martial arts, it affects their school, their relationships, their family, their home, their future, their planning, goals. Everything is improved when they become physically disciplined and focused and more self-confident.
That's a wonderful analogy. The issue of self-esteem and confidence.
Yes.
We're going to step aside from sales for just a second, because this is an area where you are definitely an expert. One of the challenges that we're seeing with schools is, since the Karate Kid and Miyagi taught us all, that martial arts is more than just Bruce Lee flying through the air and killing people. That it is a potential for personal development. Parents have been flocking to schools, recognizing that martial arts could be a very good supplement to their children's education. Wonderful. The converse of that, though, is that we're losing some of the adults. In fact, we've lost a lot of the adult market because it's starting to get that perception that this is a kid's thing, A. And B, it's almost to the point in some cases where schools emphasize confidence and esteem building more than the actual technique.
Right.
It's as though they're playing a game of musical chairs, but instead of having one less chair, they have an extra chair, so everybody wins. Is that really confidence? If you do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We have tournaments where everybody wins, and there is no sense of competition. I believe we're in a competitive world, and there's such a thing as healthy competition. There's also such a thing as Little League competition. James Michener put it so well in Sports in America when he said that Little League Baseball doesn't develop strong character, it simply eliminates the weak ones. I thought, God, that's martial arts. That's right on the money. Yes. How do we find a balance between maintaining the integrity of the martial arts that we're doing, which is self-defense, and building that confidence and esteem?
Well, one of the things is, first of all, for the teacher to understand it. And many teachers don't understand it. And second of all, for the teacher to explain that this is part of a process. This is what we're doing here. This is why we are doing these things. This is why we spend so much time on basics, because basics are the foundation. When I started in martial arts, there were 1 or 2 children, I'm talking about 10, 11-year-olds, in the class that were brought by their fathers. And that was remarkable, because it was all adults. It was all young adults in their early 20s and 30s and sometimes in their 40s. There just weren't any children in martial arts. And the classes were run for adults. Only later did children come into it. One of the mistakes that we make is we focus on self-esteem because it's so soft. Say people have self-esteem. It's an intangible. Nobody can tell if you have it or not. But I think what adults want is they want fitness. Adults really are not that afraid of being beat up. We have a pretty well-organized society. So what they want is self-confidence. They want a feeling of personal power. They want higher levels of self-esteem. They want to feel fit and trim. They want to have high energy. They want to be physically attractive. So these are the things that you can use, and the physical fitness boom is continuing to explode. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on equipment to become physically fit. If karate is taught as this is, again, it goes back to what people need. What is it that you want? Adults aren't going to say, I want more self-confidence. Would you like to be fit, trim, high energy? Would you like to move like a mountain lion, smooth, balanced, coordinated, focused, clear eyes, sharp, sleep better, have more energy, and so on? Yes, that's what people want.
We've said in the past that 10, 15 years ago, we gained our confidence from being in shape and knowing we could take care of ourselves. And now, confidence is trying to be sold without getting in shape and without, just because you show up, you get a star on your gi. Hey, you feel better about yourself? It's just not true. No. It just doesn't come through. So I say this because it's very important to me, even though we're a professional association, we're not just in to try and help school owners make more money. That is not what we're about. And I don't think that's what sales is all about. I mean, certainly it is in some industries. But in this industry, our mindset, our goal is to dramatically increase the number of people who are benefiting from martial arts in the American society. That cannot help but benefit the society. That only comes from good communication and helping people to see the benefits of the arts. And that only comes through sales.
Yes.
One of the challenges that schools have had for a long time, I think all businesses do, is a tendency to tell the market what it needs in their marketing and their advertising, rather than listening closely to what the market desires and then providing it for them. We have advertisements that have somebody kicking somebody through the air. Now, here I am. Now, these are not ads that we create. These are the typical ads that you see. As a black belt who's been around for 20 years, I look at that ad, and when I designed that ad, I said, you know, as soon as I design this ad, I know what's going to happen. They're going to see the power martial arts can develop, because I know what it feels like to kick somebody. It's the best feeling in the world. You impale somebody with a sidekick, cool. But the market sees it and says, oh my God, if I join that school, look what they're going to do to me. They're going to kick me across the room. We call it black belt eyes. In other words, we design our business, our marketing, our program based upon our value system, what we enjoy. And we're a unique breed for the most part. The martial arts school owner is a very hardcore martial artist. That's not his market. How do we go from black belt eyes to market eyes?
Again, what is it that people want? People want to be respected by others. They want to feel good about themselves. They want to be fit. They want to be healthy. They want to feel they have an edge, a slight superiority over others. So the whole focus has to be on that, not on fabulous kicks and spinning back kicks and things like that, because more is less. If you tell a person that this is what you're going to learn to do, sometimes an excessive claim is actually worse. It destroys your credibility, because people think, geez, how long will I take to do that? Well, at least 3 years. Well, why even begin? 3 years is such a long way away. But one of the things, and again, it's a quick thing in selling. We say that in all products and services, it is the product plus the way it's served. Those are the combination of what the customer considers quality. It's not just the teaching, it's how the teaching is done. What I've learned is that what students want is really vigorous teaching. And this is my personal opinion. In fact, I've quit my last karate school because the teacher would give you 5 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest, and 5 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest. The previous teacher would work you the whole 90 minutes. And I loved it. And they couldn't keep people out of that place. I mean, people were bringing their friends.
Right.
As soon as they sort of slowed down and went slow and took it easy and gave rest breaks and everything else, people just started quitting.
I think the misconception in our industry is if I work them too hard, then maybe they can't do it, and that's going to hurt their self-esteem. And I think the opposite is true.
No, it's absolutely not true. You work them hard. You want people to come out saying, boy, that was great. You see, what we know is that when you work out vigorously, you cause a cascade of endorphins, beta endorphins in the brain, that are nature's natural morphine. You get it from running, you get it from swimming, you get it from any vigorous physical exercise. This causes a person to feel really happy, gives them a tremendous feeling of well-being. It increases their energy, it improves their personality. It's almost like a drug. It's another positive addiction. If you don't work people hard enough, they don't get that hit. But if they can associate, remember, the reason drug addicts are drug addicts is they associate this feeling of well-being with a shot or a snort. You want your classes to associate the class with a hit, but in a very positive sense. They go out and they are happy. The best classes I've seen is when the classes are over, you can hear the decibel level. People are laughing, they are happy, they are joking, high-fiving. If they don't even know why it is. It's almost like they've all been smelling laughing gas or something like that. It's because really vigorous exercises makes people feel really good about themselves, and they have a positive association, which is this is where I get this feeling, and they bring their friends back.
Absolutely.
So it's a very important part of selling is what's on the plate, and what's on the plate is really vigorous exercise. People don't even worry if they're not as good as other people, if they're thoroughly worked out.
Here's our Teach Like a Pro tip of the week. These lessons are straight from the MATA certification course at matacertification.com. This week, Module 1, Lesson 7, Concise Language. Teaching with fewer words is stronger than using more words. Using concise language shows that you're prepared and professional. It also shows that you know your purpose or goal in the lesson. Avoid using slang words. Using useless adolescent slang words and tags weakens your authority. Quote, "Stand up and walk over here," unquote, is a more authoritative command than, "Hey guys, can I get you to move over here? That would be awesome." As a martial arts instructor, it's best to eliminate any slang from your language patterns while teaching. If part of the black belt attitude is excellence, that would include excellence in speaking skills and vocabulary. Some of the more common examples of slang to avoid would include the word like. Something either is or is not. For instance, you need to, put your guard up. Do I need to put my guard up? Is there something that is like a guard up that I can do? It's vague and adolescent. Awesome. Awesome is a great word. In fact, it's pretty awesome. But today, it's used in a terrible context. That punch was awesome. No, it wasn't. Ali's right cross was awesome. This 9-year-old green belt's right cross is not awesome. Why would a person practice hard if their first few attempts are already awesome? Man, few things grate a baby boomer like me more than a much younger person calling them man, as in, hey man. Replace the urge to say man with sir or ma'am. Man implies that you and the young person are equals. You are equals in the eyes of God, but in the eyes of society, until you've worked for 30 or 40 years and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes that you enjoy by going to schools that we built with our taxes, use sidewalks that we built with our taxes, use parks that we built with our taxes. You will not be equal to me. So show some respect for people that have worked hard to make things easier for you. Address me as sir. Address my wife as ma'am. Thank you. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions on show topics, please submit them in the show notes below, or just click the Ask Mr. Graydon Anything and let me know that way. Thanks so much for listening. Please tell your friends all about the show and subscribe. Thank you.